Today we talked to Dr. Gorlewski, Chair of Department in Learning and Instruction at UB, about the impact COVID-19 will have on education. We covered some Sweet Home athletic news, and in the second half, we talked to student leaders Vice President Delaney Graham and President Chase Michelli. From the Panther Eye, this is RNL.
Districts across America are facing tough decisions about coronavirus. Here to talk about some of the challenges is Dr. Gorlewski. Good afternoon, Dr. Gorlewski.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What do you think wealth for a district like Sweet Home would be an issue in whether alternative education succeeds?
Right, this is a really good question and an important question. I guess I'll back up a little bit by saying that wealth and associated resources always influence educational experiences. And this happens in multiple ways. First, types of knowledge that are valued acquire social status because of the power relations that exist in society. That means that certain kinds of knowledge and abilities and skills matter more than others, and they matter more in society and in schools. And this means that the decisions that flow from wealth and power are the ones that are instantiated in schools. So your question about wealth, wealth matters in terms of decisions about curriculum, as well as the resources to succeed in curricular and extracurricular activities. So a lot of times we think about the resources first, but the resources are just part of the issue. The other issue is who makes decisions about what counts in schools. And all these kinds of differences in terms of both knowledge and in resources will certainly be exacerbated in remote instruction, unless and until they are addressed directly.
Do you think that having one-to-one device development helps a district succeed in a time like this?
Great question. I'm going to answer in a way that people hate, which is it depends. It depends on a lot of factors. First, it depends on the professional development the teachers have. How well do the teachers know the devices? Have they had a chance to really learn about them? And related to that, how well have teachers been able to practice applying the content to the particular devices? Sometimes learning is supported by technologies, and sometimes technology. So professional development is really important. The second is, as I said, the usefulness of a particular technology with content. Sometimes they're helpful, and sometimes they get in the way. The third thing that really matters is how well students know and are able to use the devices. Have they had an opportunity to practice with them, or were they dropped off and the students have yet another thing to learn on top of the content that they're supposed to learn? And finally, and this is really becoming important now for a lot of families, is the infrastructure at home to support learning and support the capacity devices. A lot of times home internet is not used to supporting 5 people on 5 different devices at 8 hours a day. And so those capacities affect the usefulness of one-to-one device deployment in terms of student achievement and instruction.
What do you think are some major differences between elementary, middle, and high school education?
Wow, this is a question that entire degree programs are built around, right? What are the differences between these 3 areas? It's a really important question. I would say that effective instruction is influenced a lot by the quality of relationships among all of the members of the learning community. So this addresses your question because a significant difference in the levels of education, middle school, elementary, and high school, a significant difference involves knowing about human development so that teachers can form strong, productive relationships. Right? So that would be a major difference, is knowing who your learners are. I'm almost more interested in the similarities among all those levels. I've taught everything from pre-K up through graduate and doctoral education, and there are a lot more similarities than there are differences, surprisingly. One really important similarity is that to forge effective relationships requires mutual learning and lots of listening. Students learn from teachers when teachers learn who their students are and what matters to them. And that's really true across all grade levels and content areas.
What would you recommend districts do to support students and mitigate disparities in a time like this?
Yeah, I thought really a lot about this question. It's a really good one. I guess the first thing I would say, if I were, I guess, if I felt like I was the right person to make recommendations in this era, the first thing I would say is not to assume. Don't assume what teachers, students, and families need or what they are able to offer. Sometimes we assume that families need things, or students need things, or teachers need things, and we don't think to ask what they might be able to do to help. And many times people can draw meanings from the ways that they can help more than they can from just receiving assistance, right? So that would be the first thing. Don't make assumptions and be sure you ask. The second thing is that any outreach to members of learning communities should be opportunities that offer agency and choice. Sometimes when people are asked for help or asked to receive help even, it can feel like another burden, another thing I have to do. And so we want to make sure that people feel supported, not burdened with what feels like another obligation, even if it's meant to be helpful. I'll bet that you've received lots of surveys and that families are receiving surveys and teachers are receiving surveys about what they need. And you have enough to do without answering a lot of extra things. The third thing would be to think really hard about what really matters in curriculum and how to assess what students know and are able to do in ways that are relevant to them and to the current context. So we can't just take what we're already doing and move it to a remote context. That's not going to be helpful. What is helpful is to think about what we want the outcomes to be and think about authentic and meaningful ways to meet those outcomes. And the final thing is to honor what students and teachers and families know and feel. People are experiencing an era that is unprecedented for them, for us, really. And we need to acknowledge that. Part of that is acknowledging the inequities, as well as the effects of inequities, and then use the opportunity to form inclusive working groups to address these, both now and going forward. So I hate to think of this really hard time as an opportunity, because I think that is a bit cliche. However, since we have time to reflect, I think it's important to do so in ways that are meaningful for teachers and students and families.
Would you expect this crisis to cause gaps in learning, and what do you think could be done to remedy these gaps?
Right, you've asked some really important questions. So I'm going to back up from this one a little bit too and say that often what are termed achievement gaps for students are more accurately described as opportunity to learn gaps. That is, the differences in achievement are based, at least in part and maybe largely, on existing social inequalities. So to your question specifically, yes, in these conditions, opportunity gaps are likely to be widened. But this really should not be addressed through strictly remedial activities. Remedial activities a lot of times are rote. They can be dull, they can be repetitive, and I think that would be a mistake. Instead, I think, again, from a collaborative perspective, teachers and school leaders can work with students and parents to think about what might be authentic learning outcomes, and then collaborate to develop meaningful ways to demonstrate that students have met these outcomes. So if we don't have Regents exams, is the answer for all of the teachers to develop their own Regents-like exams? I would say no. I would say instead, think about what it is we're measuring on those exams and how it might be more interestingly and authentically assessed in ways that are community specific and context specific. So finally, I would extend these opportunities, these collaborative curriculum opportunities beyond this crisis in order to use them to diversify and transform the curriculum.
What do you think students can do to better work from home through this crisis? And what do you think communities as a whole can do to support their students?
Mm-hmm. For students, I think the first the first thing to do is to establish support networks. Stay connected with each other and stay connected with your teachers. Secondly, develop schedules that are personalized and realistic. We hear a lot about mornings not being an ideal time for adolescents, for example. Well, if that's true, now you have a chance to sleep later in the morning and work in the afternoon. But that means you work in the afternoon, right? So develop schedules that are reasonable for you and personalized. I think it would be great if students could use this opportunity to read for pleasure and for academic purposes. When teaching high school, often my students would tell me when I was teaching high school that they never had time to read for pleasure. And I think to find a book that you really like and read for pleasure would be a great support for your academic work and also a break recreationally. Related to that, it would be, I think, wonderful for students to take a little bit of time every day to write about your experiences, to document your experiences. These writings will be artifacts that document a unique time in history and will be really important. So building your skills by documenting your own experience would be really wonderful and certainly will connect to your content areas as well. And finally, if you can use this time to explore a creative outlet, I think that would be great. Whatever that means for you. You have a lot of academic work to do. I trust that you will find a way to do that through your schedules, but finding an outlet that is meaningful for you would be helpful as well. Whether it's music or art or writing or whatever, dance, skateboarding. Are you still allowed to skateboard?
I don't know. Would you expect this to impact college readiness in students?
Once again, a really good question that I'm going to cheat a little bit and say that depends. It depends, first of all, on the college and on the student, as well as on the student's educational experiences to this point. The transition to college is intellectual and academic, but it's also social and emotional. So in some ways, a semester of relatively independent learning like this one is could be beneficial. Of course, in other ways, if you fall back on academic work, it could also be a hindrance. So stretching your question to think about what the impact of it might be or how to ameliorate the issue, one way to handle this unusual situation would be to take some time to take every opportunity to gather information. If you're close to college time, reach out, extend your network into the college field. For example, at UB, we are offering virtual receptions and welcome sessions for our incoming students to help them make that transition. And they claim that they're finding them useful in establishing relationships with faculty and staff. Times like these are challenging and uncertain, but they offer all of us opportunities to learn about ourselves and what matters, and about our society and what matters. It's very likely that our society will undergo a significant transformation as a result of this pandemic, and schools are social institutions that will also change. So I think if we can use this time to reflect and connect, doing these two things will facilitate lifelong learning that will really help in the transition to college as well. I realize that I didn't answer the second half of your question about what can communities do to help. And I guess I apologize for that. I guess I would say that the communities are part of the support network that students need, and they should do the same thing that we're asking schools and teachers to do, which is to reach out and see what kinds of things students need to be supported and feel supported.
Thank you for taking the time to talk with us, Dr. Gorlewski.
You're very welcome. Thanks for asking.
Just because Sweet Home spring season has been canceled doesn't mean that sports news at Sweet Home has stopped. Senior Daquan Hill will join Cortland State D3 basketball team. Austin and Sean Romanowski have committed to play D3 baseball at Alfred State and Hilbert College. And most recently, Ian Porkowski will join Medias College D3 baseball team. Additionally, while we are on hiatus, 6 students were named Athletes of the Week. Boys lacrosse player Gavin Janis came into the season much improved from last year and was working very hard during the week of practice. He soaked up everything that was taught and applied it right away. Next year, Gavin will play lacrosse at Medaille College. Olivia Kowalik is a 10th grader starting her third season on varsity softball. As an 8th grader, she came into the program and worked her way to the top of the batting order and started in the important position of catcher. The work that she has put in during the off-season is evident. She improved an already powerful swing and developed into an outstanding base runner. She is first at practice and last to leave, and a role model for all. Most importantly, she is supportive of all of her teammates. RNL co-host Josh Seiss has been a welcome addition to our boys tennis team this season. Josh was very committed and played a lot of tennis throughout the fall, winter, and early spring, and reached out to many of his teammates, showing great signs of teamwork and strengthens our team's culture. Josh is dedicated to improving as he's reaching out to his coaches frequently for feedback. Josh's dedication will be a big part of our tennis program's success this season and beyond. Outdoor track member Adriana Ellsworth completed every square on her weekly workout bingo board. Her coaches are so proud of her determination to train and improve during this time. Another track athlete and I member, Daniel Gutsu, completed 16 of Choose Your Own workouts and showed his dedication to the sport despite this tough time. And finally, we'd like to recognize girls softball player Jessica Whitehead. She has been playing softball since the age of 12 and will end her 6-year Sweet Home softball career as a captain. She has played several key positions while in the program, and last year as a junior, she fought her way into a very competitive batting lineup. Her work ethic and positive attitude with young kids have earned her the title of captain for her senior year. Congratulations to all 10 athletes.
On Friday, Governor Cuomo announces all schools in the state would be closed through the rest of the year. Here to talk about how that affects students are Sweet Home Body President and Vice President Chase Maselli and Delaney Graham. How long have you guys been a part of student government, and how long have you guys attended Sweet Home?
Ladies first.
I've been a part of student government for 2 years, and I've been at Sweet Home since kindergarten.
I've been in student government for 2 years as well, because it's only been alive for 2 years, and I've attended Sweet Home from pre-K to now.
What are some of the things you believe students in lower grades will miss?
Wow. For me, because I have a younger sister who's in elementary school right now, and what she misses the most is her friends and seeing her teacher every day, because I think for the younger kids, their teachers really are like a third parent to them. And from my sister, she's expressed that she misses her teacher the most. What about you, Delaney?
I don't know. I think everyone, including younger people, and everyone is missing their friends and just a regular routine to conform to, because everything is so topsy-turvy right now.
As a senior, Chase, what are some traditions you personally will miss?
Oh God, there's so many. I was really like when I started my senior year, I was so excited to go to the elementary schools and like walk around and like see old teachers and stuff like that. And I was really, really excited for graduation because I wanted to speak at graduation and for my last band concert of the year. But it is what it is. I've accepted it at this point, and I'm just glad that everybody I know and care about, which is pretty much all of Sweet Home, is healthy and safe right now. And if I had to sacrifice graduation for everyone to be alive, I'll take it.
What are some of the things you were planning on doing in student government that now can't be done under New York pause?
Well, originally, we were working with, before the quarantine happened, we were working with getting the new principal and picking between the two candidates. And we were planning originally to start working with the new principal, who's Mr. Perry, as soon as he got in, so that he could get to know student government better, so we could work on the things like the courtyards and other things that we wanted to work on throughout the year, but that obviously got stomped on by a disease.
Yeah, and last year we were even thinking of doing like a movie day or something, like a fun
Hmm.
end of the year summer celebration, and now that couldn't happen this year either.
What has student government done or plans to do during this pandemic?
Honestly, at the moment, and since the pandemic started, it was so uncertain that we didn't want to start planning anything, and at this point, we really don't have anything planned because there's nothing to plan because school is over for the rest of the year. But I think right now I want to push the current members of student government that are juniors, sophomores, and freshmen to start thinking about what they want to do next year. And for my seniors, sayonara was nice, but there's nothing we can really do at this moment in time.
I went on a call with Mr. Perry, Mrs. Bruce, and a few other teachers and students, and we just want to work on getting a suitable replacement for prom and graduation that isn't ideal but will send off seniors in a nice way. So we just want to work on salvaging what's left of the year.
How have interactions with the district and building administration been?
Well, it's been difficult to get a stable contact with administrators at different times. I know on the Board of Education, it's been weird trying to set up meetings. And like Delaney said, she was talking with Mr. Perry, Miss Daria, and Ms. Bruce. That was a whole fiasco because a lot of people didn't show up, including myself, because I didn't know what time it was. It's been a little wishy-washy trying to get in contact with administrators, but we're doing what we can with what we're given. I think we can all agree that Gmail's a little shady when it comes to telling you when your emails are actually coming in.
What would you say about the newest administration member, Mr. Perry?
I am
From
so excited to see. Oh, who first? You want to go first, Delaney?
I'm very excited to see him work and see what he's able to do because unfortunately very few students were able to meet him because he was there for like a day and then everything closed. So it would be nice if he is able to connect with the students in any way, and hopefully he will be able to.
I agree with everything Delaney said. I'm very excited to see what he does and what he's been working on in his head right now during this quarantine, not being able to work. And I have 100% faith in him to take care of our school after I'm gone and the other seniors are gone. I think he's going to do a great job, and I hope he's here to stay.
As students, what are some recommendations you'd make to your fellow students about what they can do during this time?
One of the most important things is to try to not mess up your sleep schedule and try to go to bed at a reasonable time and wake up at a reasonable time. Not that I've been doing that, but it'd be great if I was. That'd be really helpful. And I think everyone should try.
I agree with Delaney 100%, but I am, not doing a great job at the whole sleep schedule thing. But I think it's important that right now students make their priority staying on top of their assignments. And like, if you let a couple go late and you hand them in, I'm sure your teachers will understand. But above even that, make sure that mentally and emotionally you're okay right now because I'm sure everybody's going stir crazy staying at home and not being able to do much and go for a walk, go breathe, go outside because me personally, this has been one of the most mentally and emotionally draining times I've ever had to go through in my life and like it's just not exciting. So find time to like R&R rest and relaxation yourself and figure it out and just breathe.
What are some ways you guys have been spending your time while social distancing?
I have rewatched all of Parks and Rec and all of The Office. And
Those my
I
book.
have been doing a lot of homework, and I had to do a painting project for my painting class. So that's what I've done.
I have been watching. I rewatched all of American Horror Story 1 through 9, and I'm doing it again. Um, playing lots and lots of video games, playing Skyrim and Overwatch and lots of Roblox and doing homework. I'm gonna say that for the culture. I'm doing my homework.
Through quarantine, who are some teachers that have been very supportive?
Mr. Hicks, my physics teacher, has been very good. Every update he sends, he's always like, hang in there, guys. Can't wait to see you again. But now I won't see him again, but I miss him the most, and he's great.
I think for me, academically, Dr. English has been making sure that we don't miss any beats on the way to this AP exam, which I am very appreciative of. But then I'd say like emotionally that Palucci, Mr. Basehart, and Mr. Murphy have just been so great with everything they're sending us, making sure we're okay. And Mr. Morrow is doing something fun where he's having us record all of our music individually and he's going to stitch it together to kind of like do an online concert. So I think that's really fun and exciting. And yeah, hope I didn't forget anyone.
Thank you, Chase and Delaney, for your time today.